All right. We are live.
Woo!
Hello, everyone. Welcome, Stacy.
Hey.
Awesome. Well, welcome back to second edition of Irreplaceable Educators, where we are highlighting some amazing educators and leaders doing really, really innovative things in their communities and just learning more about them and sharing them with you, and all inspired by the book Designing Schools: How AI Makes You Irreplaceable in an AI world. Sorry, how design thinking makes you irreplaceable in an AI world. And we are just continuously so inspired by what Stacy does. And we're just really excited to pick her brain today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is fun. My first live. Woo! Hi, everyone.
Amazing.
Such a great community. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about tell us what you did and what you do now.
Oh, what do you mean what I did? I'm still doing all the things. I guess
Yes,
I've had
exactly. Yes, exactly.
So I'm a teacher just outside of San Francisco at the high school level. And I started out teaching PE and dance and still teach PE, transitioned out of dance when I started having kids. I've got 3 little ones now. And I'm also a technology coordinator for my school site. And I'm the PE content lead for the district. And I'm teaching an ELD class this year that's new for me. And yeah, a lot of things. I'm doing a lot of things. I love all things education. So I've kind of been just kind of going where the road leads me and trying new things. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. What do you do as a content lead for PE? I'm just curious.
I kind of am a coordinator for all of the PE teachers. So when there's like
Oh, wow.
big conversations that are affecting all the school sites, we get together and have meetings, and we're just kind of constantly staying in touch to address issues and talk about what it is to be a PE teacher. So I'm just kind of the
Oh, nice.
facilitator of that kind of thing.
Okay, amazing. And sorry, I like you said so many things. So other than that, I know I'm like, okay, I'm trying to keep up. Okay, well, first of all, you have small children too, right?
I do, yeah.
I, don't- I don't know how you do it. Wow.
It is kind of nuts to like be so invested in my work and so invested in being a mom, but then like I also have learned to not sleep, which I'm sure the moms can relate to. Like your body adapts and you no longer need sleep. And so I just have gone from the non-sleeping early stages to now my children are starting to sleep a little bit better, but then I get up and get back on the computer and keep working a little bit while they're asleep. And obviously that catches up with you and you need to like take your breaks and like not do that every single night. But I think that has helped me to find some balance in my life just by having those mom superpowers.
Aw, that's wonderful. Amazing. Okay, so PE dance teacher and then content lead for PE and then now instructional coach. Is that instructional
Yeah, so I'm
coach?
actually so I actually still teach PE. So my
Okay,
day looks like I teach 3 periods of PE, 1 period of this English development class, and then I
right.
have a TOSA release period to be an instructional coach. I forgot that hat,
Oh.
all the hats. I'm an instructional coach for teachers, so I get to like support them with their goals throughout the year. And then the instructional technology piece is all after school, outside of school hours that I get a stipend for doing that kind of work. But it's funny because that used to be a TOSA position during the day, and that's been kind of getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And this year is the
Aw.
first year that it is not during the school day having any time. Um,
Hmm.
so I've had to be kind of creative in finding other ways to like actually support innovation because that doesn't
Hmm.
happen. You don't have time to sit down with teachers and like help them figure out how to try new things. That's gone. Not to say innovation is gone, but that time to sit down and work has gone away. So that's what led me to designing a whole PD fellowship program around AI. And I was super inspired when I actually went to Saba's workshop that was through the Krauss Center of Innovation. There was a KCI workshop around AI and design thinking that I thought sounded super interesting. I've done a lot of programs and workshops through KCI. They're amazing. And I got a lot of really great ideas just from listening to her speak, and dove into her teachings. Started, going down the Saba rabbit hole of YouTube and her Instagram and all the things. And it led me to planning this whole fellowship program so that teachers can get paid for their time exploring tools and learning how to use them and what not to use them for, and all those things that come with what we're grappling with AI. And that's been a wild experience. It's kind of led me to like all these other opportunities to talk about how I developed the program and talk about how other people can get that started in their district. And it's been wild. So that's been like my other side project, in addition to also then doing more stuff with KCI and writing their blog series now. So writing about AI about twice a month. So you can subscribe to their newsletter and get those updates.
Wow.
And I feel like you're being so humble because, one of the things that we always say, and a really big part of the book, is how educators are irreplaceable, but not all educators, right? Like if you're going to be the person who's just on the back burner, not changing, sticking to your outdated practices, like that's just going to be a hard place to be. But at the same time, when somebody in your role, while you're sharing, these cuts are happening, right? You're managing already so many pieces, right? Like we can barely even remember the list of things you shared. Yet you have this spark. That's true, right? And you have this spark, you attend something, which means you are that lifelong learner, right? It's like one of like the things that we say, like why educators will shape the future, because you're constantly seeking out new knowledge, you're constantly learning. All the people who are here listening today are those people. I would love for you to share that moment when you hear something and you're interested and you see this opportunity, right? But it's like, how am I going to actually make this happen? There was so much that happened for you, I feel like, in between, that I would love for you to share like a little bit of that journey. And how did you get from A to Z in being able to actually create this program? Because I feel like very few people give up in this moment. Nobody listened to me. I had this idea and this didn't happen. I didn't know how to do this. Nobody asked me this. Like, it's like all these like mindset blocks and barriers people have, and you overcame them all and really persisted. And I always say it's like a 9-month, even for Tara as well. I feel like it's like about a 9-month cycle that you go through. I would really just love to have people hear from your perspective. Even I want to hear, like, what was that like for you when you get that spark and you go in and now you've got to like advocate and kind of figure out how to get these pieces together?
Wow. Yeah. I don't think there's like a magic solution my story is not going to be everyone's story, but I definitely feel like I lean into taking risks, and I'm not really afraid to fail. Like if I think we need to do something and I have a vision, like this is, something we need to do, and this is why, I'm going to ask for it, because even if they say no, at least now they know that this is something that we need to think about, or is something that we could do. Like there's not really a downside. Sometimes it definitely comes down to relationships too. Like if you don't have positive, already connected relationships with your bosses, then it's really hard to ask for big things. But I feel like the more I've leaned into the various different leadership roles, the more I have had a voice and found my voice and been able to advocate for things. And then also making sure that I really tie them all to a purpose and being very, very values driven. Like you can't just go in and say, I think we need to learn about AI, because no one cares unless they're able to figure out how that fits into the larger scheme of things, right? When there's so many things that we need to focus on in PD, they're not going to say, okay, let's put all those other things aside to focus on technology. That doesn't make sense to a lot of people. So I had to think really creatively, like what was driving me towards AI. And I had to figure out like my own purpose and value for using these tools or not using the tools. Like I don't want to be super like AI hype girl either. Like I want to have a very balanced view, and then I want to share that balance with the people that are making these decisions about what we focus on for PD. And then I pitched it as an AI fellowship program for teachers to learn about AI and equity, and be developing their anti-racist lens through talking about AI, because that's something that my district already cares about. And we do lots and lots of PD around humanizing pedagogy and anti-racism. So I made it fit into the puzzle of what they were looking for PD. And that was what also filled my bucket as well, and where I found purpose in using AI, using it to find new creative ways to give students agency, make content relevant and meaningful, all the things that are good teaching and also like humanizing.
I love that, because that's like literally like the innovation begins with empathy lens. And I just want to like really pull that out for anybody who's listening and trying to do that in their organization. I think so often we go in and go like, oh my God, this tool is amazing. Like, oh my God, I use this app and it's amazing, amazing, amazing. And it's so like me centered. It's so individualistic. But when you connect it to what are the vision, what are the goals of the organization, and you can make that connection when you go and advocate for something, I think it is, you're absolutely right. I love the way you phrased it, that like, even if they say no, you've planted a seed. And I think so many people are afraid to even plant that seed because they don't see the flower right away, right? Emerge like kind of from that.
Right. Yeah. Like if you put yourself out there and you have these grand plans, even if they say no, they're going to go to you when they do come around and say like, hey, maybe we want to start with this one workshop, or we want to start with this one thing that they want to do. Like you're going to be that person that they go to. So it's just a matter of not being afraid to speak up, I guess.
Absolutely.
And you're so right, though, that it can't be about tools. It really can't be about tools. It's got to be more.
Right. Absolutely. And like when I feel like, I don't know, for me at least as a teacher, when I first found out about tools, I was like very tool. But it wasn't till I like actually learned more about AI and how it's integrated into teaching and all that. Like there's so much more to it, and it's easy to get lured in by the marketing and everything of all these flashy new tools. But I feel like as we educate each other more, we're becoming more and more aware of its transformational power, but also just being ethical with it as well. And I love how another thing from the book, like you took the obstacle into an opportunity. Like, okay, I can't have a whole PD session on AI, but how can I weave it into what we're already working on? And that's where I think a lot of, like you said, a lot of people kind of get that they can't decide. They think, okay, we're going to do PD on AI, but AI for what? AI to help you what? Assessment with equity, like that too. It's just there's so many different ways that it can be integrated. So I love that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So maybe walk us through, like, not only did you launch this PD, but you're one of the most like creative people.
Yes.
In how you did it and how you thought through the learning experience and how you thought through all those pieces. Tell us a little bit about like why that mattered to you and like what your thought process was as you were thinking about introducing it. Because I will tell you, teacher workshops are hard. They're hard. There's a lot of frustration that you're walking into, a lot of tension that you're walking into. Tell us a little bit about like how you went about thinking about that experience and how you were going to kind of confront many of the challenges.
Well, I knew that it would be really, really hard to get it built into any kind of district PD or anything that like is already built into the structure, because we have a couple like all day professional development things. So I wanted it to be something that teachers could opt into that's outside of the school day, because that's really the only place it would fit. And because it's outside the school day, it needed to be asynchronous. So I figured a blended, semi-blended asynchronous model would be like most accessible for people. So I kind of started with this idea of doing like a Zoom at the beginning and a Zoom meeting at the end to kind of kick things off and get everyone kind of oriented, but then send them off to do the learning at their own pace in Canvas modules in our learning management system. So I built out all the stuff for a 6-week program. Each week had a different focus around AI, intro to AI, the ethics of AI, practical uses, that kind of stuff. And so once I started just building the content, I just was flying, because I have been obsessed with AI for 2 years now, at the time, a year and a half. So I had collected everything. I actually have a Wakelet collection with like a bajillion things that I've collected, literally like thousands of things that I've dropped in over the last 2 years.
Your Wakelet is insane. It's insane.
My Wakelet is the largest rabbit hole of AI madness ever. I'll share it somewhere for everyone, because it's deep. It goes real deep. And so I feel like I had all the content. And so it was just a matter of then picking out like what were the most impactful things that I've seen and read and watched that would be meaningful to share with my colleagues. And so for each week, I was picking out these like key things. Go read this. If you have time, watch this. And it was like a choice board for every week of like, go explore these resources. And then there needed to be a connecting part of this. It can't just be like, go watch this and you're done, right? So there were discussion boards every week with some questions, 1 or 2 questions for people to chat about what they were trying, what they were reading, what they learned. And that was where like the learning happened, right? Like you're hearing what other people are experiencing and able to comment on their posts. And that was really meaningful. And then
were people using AI for the discussion boards?
Absolutely. So I used AI to help me come up with the questions and kind of build out the content. And then I put in the directions for the discussion board. I was like, please don't use AI to like write your discussion post because it's a place for learning and discussing, and there's no need for that. There's no grade. There's no, you know, I'm checking that we're like doing all the things because you have to hold people accountable for doing the work, but it's not like if you don't do it, like you're booted from the program and I'm failing you, right? So it was really not necessary to do that. It was low stakes. So people wrote what they were experiencing and doing, and I don't suspect that anyone was just pushing a button and doing that. Maybe they were using AI to refine, but it didn't matter because it's a question.
100%. No, I love it.
And we had a
I
few tasks.
Because I feel like we get a lot of people just like, kids are using it in discussion boards. And I was like, yeah, but like, what's the motivation? Or like, how are you getting people invested? And I feel like you did such a great job of getting people invested that, you know, the stories that you shared from them were incredible.
Yeah. And we used AI to like download all the responses and kind of gather like the overall insights too. So we have tons of data on what teachers were experiencing throughout the whole 6 weeks. The things that resonated, the things they still had questions about, what we need to do next. Even just like asking at the end how it went with the format and all of that. We've got all their feedback and can make some plans to do it again. So
that's amazing. So it was a 6-week program and you got a cohort of educators. And are these people who volunteered for it, but they also got paid for it, right? Like, so these are people who volunteered to do this, but then they also received.
They had to apply.
Okay.
We ended up having like 50 people apply, and we were only planning to take 35. So we ended up taking everybody in the first rodeo, pretty much everybody. I think that there were a few that missed like the cutoff, and we were like, no, we really can't do it anymore. Like beyond 50, we were like, no, we can't do it anymore. Yeah, so we had a lot of people that wanted to do it. So we said, great, you're all in, yay. And then they got a $700 stipend for finishing the 6-week program, which I know is not something that a lot of districts are willing to do. But we did it. I convinced the higher ups to pay people what they are worth, which $700 for 6 weeks of learning is like not even enough for all the things I was asking them to do. But it was definitely very nice for people.
That is just incredible. Like your creativity, seeing the need for that, working really hard and talking to people day in, day out, trying to get this course in action, making it fit in, and then having them receive a stipend. That is unbelievable. You are incredible. That's so awesome.
We got to pay our people. No one's going to do this for free. I mean, sometimes we do. Because we want to learn and like do this. But like, if you really want people to do more than just a 1-day workshop, you know what I mean? Like it can't just be like one and done. And now you know everything about AI in this 2-hour workshop or whatever. That's not going to happen. It's just, even in the 6 weeks, people are at the very end are writing like, I think we're just getting started. We need so much more than this. Like, yeah, because there's so much to learn and grapple with and think about like how you want to use it, how your students might use it, what they're not going to use it for. There's like so much.
I would be so curious because I feel like, you know, I think you really, I love how you said it, this whole like one and done model that we're just so used to that maybe even you could say maybe kind of worked before just doesn't really work with this topic. But I feel like there's a lot of people like you who are having to take a lot of initiative themselves. What are some things as you think about like superintendents, principals, school organizations, what are some things that you think are important for them to know about why you should build capacity or choose a person internally to do this work?
That's a hard one, because you definitely want to bring in your people that are already there, but they're not necessarily looking for someone, right? Like the superintendents are dealing with all their other things. They're not thinking about like, what teacher on the teaching staff is capable of leading an AI program for teachers? That's not on their radar. They may be thinking about policy and guidelines and wanting somebody to help them with that, but I don't think they even know where to start. So,
and can I just I'm going to pause there really quickly, because again, I want to go back to what you said earlier about why it's so important for people who are interested to take that initiative and to open the door to that conversation, because it's just, you're so right. It's not on their radar. And that's why you're there. That's why they've hired you, because you are the expert in your space to identify gaps and see things. Can it be up and implemented right away? Maybe yes, maybe no. But should it be our responsibility, if we have an interest in that or something, to go in and do that? So yes, anyways, sorry, continue. I just wanted to emphasize that point from the beginning.
No, yeah, it's super important to put yourself out there and just share your ideas and just let them know, like, here I am and here's what I can do. And here, not just here's what I need, because I feel like as a leader, people always come to them with problems and say, we need to be doing XYZ. But then if you're the person coming in saying, we need to do XYZ and I'm going to help you do XYZ, you're making their job easier. And of course, they're going to want to find a way to pull you in if you're making their job easier, make them look good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also wanted to ask you, okay, I asked you that. I asked you, tell us a story about like just something cool you saw. I know you posted a couple, and I'm sure you have many to choose from, but like, tell us a story about like, wow, somebody went through this and this happened.
Yeah.
Oh man, a story. I don't know if I have a story off the top of my head. From the fellowship program, or just something that I posted.
So many. You posted a really good one. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but like you posted a really good one.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but I did talk to someone just the other day who was in the AI fellowship program, and she is an English teacher, and she said it completely changed her approach. She was like that I'm going to ban AI from my classroom camp, to then completely brought it into the class and had the students using AI and talking about AI in like a fishbowl conversation. She said that they just ran with it, and they were shocked at first that she brought it up, because they had heard her say like, don't use it. And then they were like, wait a minute, now you want us to use it and talk about it and do all these things. And she was like, yep, I've learned. And so it was really cool that she shared that transformation with me, and that her students were so capable of using the terminology and just talking about AI. She said they were talking about guardrails and like all these things that she just had them read an article or two articles and then sent them off to talk about it. And they just ran with it. And I felt really good about that, knowing that the students had that opportunity, because they might not have had that opportunity before if she was still afraid and not really feeling comfortable with AI herself.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm sure you're going to have like so many, because it really does like, it's such a ripple effect through everybody. But I'd also love to hear from you. And I know you've shared before, but like, we loved having you in the boot camp. And I am just curious, like some of your favorite takeaways or things that maybe, you enjoyed from that experience that you think really help accelerate, I think, some of this work.
I thought the AI bootcamp was going to be learning tools and learning about AI. And I was very surprised when you had me learning about myself all throughout the whole thing. It was like trickery. Like you totally got me in and got me learning about like, what are my strengths and what makes me irreplaceable, and how can I lean into those strengths and use AI to even amplify them. And that just launched me on to like a whole nother level of confidence and leadership. And through that, I I really, really enjoyed that part of it because I feel like I did your whole course 2 times. I watched all the videos.
Aww.
I'm such a nerd. I just outed me as the biggest nerd, but yeah, you know, if you know me, I'm a nerd. So there it is. I did the whole thing one time through, and then I did it again because I was like, oh, I don't know if I like watch this one, you know, good enough. Let me watch these videos again. Let me do all these tasks she's asking me to do, because there were things to go back and read and different videos to watch and things to try, and I just got so much out of that. And not everything is like that. Like I've done a lot of other AI courses online and micro credential things and all kinds of stuff, and nothing compared to the AI bootcamp because it was really focusing on the human aspect alongside AI. It was not just AI focusing, and that was transformational for me. So thank you for that.
No, you're so welcome. And thank you. I always say, like, I feel like we're so desperate to learn so much about AI, and we should be, right? There's like so much to learn. There's so much there. But I always say, like, for every one lesson you learn on AI, you should double down and learn 2 things about yourself. Because it really is like, if you're not learning about yourself as well, it's like, how are you going to be relevant? How are you going to stay in the loop? How are you going to keep finding places for yourself? And I think that's like the most beautiful thing I love about watching you grow. And I want to have you share now a little bit about like KCI and the work you're doing there. And let's drop a link into your blog post, because it's just, to me, incredible to see the opportunities that can come about for us when we go down this path. Like, we had no idea where it would go, what it would create, what would happen. But when you open that door for yourself, I would say, even if this isn't the door that opens, it could be one over here or one over here, or the 10 that you didn't even see that will open for you just because you took that step. So I'd love for you to share just what are some of the things that you're working on now? What are you most excited about? And tell us a little bit about the work with KCI.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I will in a second. It's funny because I wasn't even looking for opportunities. Like, honestly, like, I just am leaning into the things that I care about and that bring me joy. And that's leading to more opportunities. Like, I'm not out here trying to get 10 more hats to wear. Like, I got enough hats going on. It's not a competition as to who can do the most work during the day, but it's the things that I enjoy doing. So I'm leaning into all of those things. So, the work with KCI, it was coming from, I think, my LinkedIn posts and things that I was sharing online, because I've been connected with KCI as a student. They do teacher-facing workshops and certificate programs, so you can, they're grant funded. So teachers, I think mostly in California, but some of them may extend, can apply and do their programs for free. And so I've done a couple of their things. I'm actually in one right now. I'm in STEAM leadership right now, and I did their merit program, which is making education relevant through innovative teaching. And
Cool.
that kind of got me like really roped into like educational technology, and it empowered me a lot. And so I've been doing their programs and going to their workshops and just talking to the people that work there and connecting. And then I started posting about AI and sharing what I was learning along the way. And yeah, they said, we have these potential things coming up. I think I actually may have been the first one to apply to host a workshop. They had put something out in their newsletter looking for people to lead workshops on a few different topics. So I put my name in, like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. I'll do an AI workshop. And it's actually this Thursday. I'm so excited. But
oh my God, how exciting. So wait, can people join your workshop?
Yes.
Is it online?
Don't know top of my head, but it's on my LinkedIn. If Sophie or somebody pull that up. It's this Thursday. It's an AI for equity and how to use AI to further make your classes more equitable. So I've got tons of resources for that. So
beautiful timing. But I will just put anything here, because I personally love aesthetic, and I love like people. I can always tell when like somebody put love into the learning design of something. And so I just want to say, if you're here, I like highly recommend this. The love that you put and the creativity that you put, even if you don't go learning about AI, you'll learn about how to design a PD session. You know, like there's just like so many other takeaways somebody will probably have from learning with you. I just found, even I remember the food one that you did, like the Iron Chef
yes.
PD. I'm just like,
yes,
you know, thing is like the human connection. Like people are always like, is AI going to replace this? And it's like, I don't know. It depends. Like if you're just going to go in and just show a bunch of tools and you're just going to do what I could find on YouTube or find anywhere else, then probably. But like what you did, yeah, you were teaching AI, yeah, you were doing those things, but you were just like creating this experience that like I could feel just from watching the photos on the other side of the screen. And I was just like, wow, like everything was so beautiful. Like I was just like, it's like, people plan weddings and they plan these things. Like we think of all the little details. And like when you do that, I think for learning, I think there is like, you automatically know that person cares. There are so many subtle messages that are sent when I think those things happen. So I just really want to I really appreciate just seeing that element. So highly recommend Thursday for anybody going. I'm sure it's going to be a masterclass and many, many things.
Thank you for that.
Oh,
yeah, so I got involved with KCI to do this workshop, and then the opportunity to do the blog. Like they just reached out to me and said, would you be interested in writing the blog? So that's something that I never thought I would do. I never thought I'd get paid to write, or like I know Saba, you talked about I never thought I'd write a book. Like I'm in the same boat. Like I never thought I'd ever get paid to write anything or do half the things I'm doing right now. Like life just sends you on these crazy twists and turns.
And can we also just talk about how many times we talked about writing, right? Like, I think that's another thing. Like I was just listening to this podcast, The Diary of a CEO, and he even on there, writing. Like there isn't a single place I go to where people don't talk about the importance of writing. It's just the medium might look different, right? Like on the podcast, they were you're talking about a blog post. I'm looking at a book, but for me, it's also just a lot of the smaller little things that we write. But they were he was when I wanted to learn something, he's I committed every single day at 7 p.m. I was going to write one tweet. And a tweet, and this is way back in the day when Twitter was a big thing, but he's the reason I chose a tweet was because when you only have 240 characters, you are forced to condense your ideas, which means you have to sit and reflect on your ideas and think about what you want to say. And he's even if no one else read that tweet, which tons of people did, and he blew up, but he was I learned so much because it forced me to sit down and reflect on what I learned that day. And so I'm really into this idea right now that everyone agrees on the same thing. We all agree writing is important. We all agree critical thinking is important. We're all in agreement. It's what it looks like has changed. And that's what we really need to double down and lean into. So I just love that of all the things, you're the mediums, that was another really big takeaway from the podcast that I think was, again, how do we take these ideas in the real world that are helping people build businesses, build lives of meaning and purpose and joy and fulfillment, and bring them in the classroom. And he had this he basically said, if you want to be noticed, right, somebody has to hear from you for 7 hours in 4 different mediums, I think 11 different times. I forget what all the numbers are. And I was just we ask kids and we are so fixated on one medium, one method, and one way that's not even going to reach anybody, right? That 5-paragraph essay, how can you make 4 variations of that 5-paragraph essay that are going to allow people to share in multiple places where they can be found for their ideas? Because that's literally you're I'm hosting PDs, I'm doing a webinar, I'm writing a blog, and now you're here to live, right? That's your 4 different ways of sharing that kind of information. And so I think there's just a lot we agree on, and we need to really start thinking about what are the different mediums we can start leveraging so that we can legally get past this cheating conversation. It's got to end in 2025.
Yeah. I listened to it too, and the guest actually called it the different mediums. He's oh, well, you can call it writing, but you can also call it publishing. I like that word that he used. He's it could be a video, it could be a YouTube, it could be a tweet, it could be a post, whatever. But just get yourself out there, and so that's. And Stacy, you're doing an amazing job. And that's kind of instead of going up to your superintendent and being hey, I can do this, I can help you, by publishing and just sharing what you love, people will come to you, right? So amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stacy. It was so lovely to have you.
Yay.
Amazing. Okay, so yes, we dropped, I feel I could talk to you for way more lives, but that's okay. I'm just so excited to learn and follow your journey. Everyone go follow Stacy on LinkedIn. It's just her name. And then we linked, I think Ed helped us out there and linked your KCI session, as well as I did as well. Okay, perfect. Amazing. Okay. I will also post, we have a 30-minute masterclass on how to get started with design thinking and AI. for any educators who are interested. So I'll post a link to that in the chat as well. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us, Stacy. You truly are irreplaceable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. It was good to see you.
Bye, you too.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. Kate, see you later.